Hello, boys and girls. This is our last week of school. Yay! I'm just going to really miss getting to read to y'all. I hope you enjoy this. If you watched the video last week, it was on Pablo Picasso. And Picasso's artwork is called abstract art. Okay, and I know I told you that we would be going over Henri Matisse, or Henri Matisse is how some people pronounce it. But I'd forgotten that we usually talk about him in class, but I don't have an actual book on him. The book I have is on Claude Monet. So if you've ever heard of Claude Monet, we are going to do a book on him today called The Magical Garden of Claude Monet. Okay? And so after this, I have a video that shows you how to paint a certain one of his portraits. If you would like to do that, I'm going to add that. And then I will also add a link on Henri Matisse, because he would do a lot of things with cutouts and things like that. So those of you that want to have something to do or something artistic, those two links are going to be on there for you just in case you're interested. Okay? I have a good video on Claude Monet that can help you learn more about him. So before I read to you today, I'm going to show you a video on him. And I hope you enjoy it.
Today we're going to learn about the famous artist, Claude Monet. Born on November 14, 1840, Claude Monet was a 19th century French painter and one of the founding fathers of French Impressionism. Some consider him one of the most important painters of the Impressionist movement, and he was certainly one of the most prolific, creating more than 2,500 paintings, drawings, and pastels in his lifetime. Monet was the second son of his parents. Though he was born in Paris, France, his family moved to Normandy only a few years later. His father was a businessman, and his mother was a singer. Monet's father wanted him to go into the family's grocery business, but Monet wanted to become an artist. When he was only 10 years old, he entered the local art school and began his studies. By age 15, Monet was well known in the town where he lived for drawing caricatures, or exaggerated portraits, of the people around him. His drawings were so good that people were happy to buy them, and Monet attracted the attention of more experienced artists who helped him to improve. In 1857, Monet's mother died. Shortly afterward, he left school and went to live with his aunt. In 1861, Claude Monet joined the army for what was supposed to be 7 years, but after 2 years he became sick, and his aunt agreed to pay to get him out of the rest of his service on condition that he agreed to go back to art school. Monet was not happy with the traditional techniques that were being taught, and so after a very short time, he left the school and began to study with other artists who were trying to create in a new way. They painted outside, with quick brush strokes, more concerned with capturing the feeling of the color and the light than with accurate or realistic painting. This style of painting came to be called Impressionism. By 1865, some of Monet's work was accepted to the Salon, an annual art show in Paris, and his work began to be appreciated, but he was still very poor. He married his first wife, Camille, in 1870, and together with their young son, they moved first to England, then the Netherlands, but by late 1871, they returned to France. In 1878, Camille gave birth to their second son, but she was very sick and died the next year. Monet had a very difficult time following his wife's death, but within a few years his career began to take off as his dealer had more and more success selling his paintings. In 1883, Monet settled in a house in Giverny, France, with Alice Ochdet, who cared for his children as well as her own 6 children. By 1890, Monet was doing well enough to buy the house and the land around it, and to build a greenhouse, a studio, and a garden full of water lilies. In 1892, following the death of her husband, Monet married Alice and spent his remaining years painting the gardens of Giverny. He often painted the same thing many times in an attempt to capture them in different seasons, light, or colors. He continued painting up until his death on December 5th, 1926, at the age of 86. Today, Monet is remembered for the changes he helped create in the world of art. By moving away from realism, or realistic painting, he prepared the way for more modern styles of art. His paintings hang in museums around the world, and his beautiful gardens are open for visitors who want to come and see the place that the renowned artist created so many of his paintings. I hope you enjoyed learning about the famous artist Claude Monet and seeing some of his beautiful work. Goodbye.
Okay, so very, very good artist, just like Pablo Picasso. So Picasso did more of the abstract art, and Monet, they called it Impressionism. Okay, that was the kind of art that he did back then. So I'm going to read to you, and this also has a lot of the artwork in it, just like Picasso's book did. And at the end, you're, like I said, there's a link that shows you how to paint the water lily pond, and it takes you through the steps of how to do that to create a masterpiece. So I'm going to be putting those on there for you, just in case you want to create some more masterpieces and send those to us. We love to see y'all's artwork. Okay, so this is The Magical Garden of Claude Monet by Lawrence Anholt. It's the same author that wrote the Picasso book and the book Miss Sotir read to you about Camille and the Sunflowers. Same author. I wish we had a garden, said Julie. She looked down at the drab river which ran through the city. Even Louis the greyhound was bored with being inside. As soon as I have finished this painting, said Julie's mother, I'll take you on a journey to the most wonderful garden in the world. It belongs to my old friend, the painter, Claude Monet. They took a big black train beside the twisting river, far out of the city. And into the countryside. Then Louis began to run down the hill and into a lane where a huge wall stood around a mysterious garden. Stop, Louis, called Julie, but it was too late. Louis had gone. Julie didn't know what to do. She got down on her hands and knees and wriggled inside. And so Louis is her little dog there. It was like crawling into a dreamy world where twisting plants grew tall as trees. Julie ran around a corner and almost knocked over a big man with a spade. The man wore a straw hat and had a huge white beard. Oh, said Julie, I am looking for my dog. Are you the gardener? I suppose I am, said the man. Come and look. Who do you think this is? Do you think that might be Monet? One day, these tiny seedlings will grow into big flowers, but a gardener has to be very patient, just like a painter. Then Julie realized, you are Claude Monet, she gasped. Yes, laughed the old man. I am Claude Monet. Together they searched for Louis along the shady path, deeper and deeper into the magical garden, until it seemed as if they had left the real world behind. Under a willow, Julie saw Monet's umbrella, like a huge white mushroom. And there was Louis. He had a blue nose, a purple ear, and one green paw. Naughty dog, shouted Julie. You've walked all over Mr. Monet's paints. I think your dog wants to be a painter, laughed Monet. Look, he's made a picture too. Then Julie saw Monet's paintings laid out in the sun to dry. Clouds floating on a mirror pond. So there's that one. That one's called Clouds Floating on a Mirror Pond. Then we have a field of golden haystacks right there. A row of wispy poplars right there. And a little Japanese bridge. The brush marks glowed like flowers in a garden. See how the dog got into all the paints? Louie wants to be a painter. They turned the handle on a rickety gate and stepped inside. It was like a garden inside a garden, a wild, wet, watery garden where willows bowed over a silent pool. Together they crossed the green bridge. So here's the bridge you see in that water lily painting. This is where it gets really neat. So these pages, it's nothing but artwork right here, and then you open them up and it shows the lily pond. I'll try and show it to you as much as I can. It opens this way and then it opens this way. So you see the whole pond. Pretty cool. When they rode across the pond, it felt like floating in Mr. Monet's paintings. Julie heard the splash of the oars and birds calling in the trees. All around them, lilies sparkled like a midnight sky. When they reached the very middle of the pool, Monet stretched into the dark water and pulled out one flower, the biggest lily of all, as bright as a silver star. A little present from my water garden, he said. They walked back toward the house and Monet pushed open a huge studio door. Here is my biggest idea of all, he said proudly. I am trying to paint the most enormous water garden in the world. When you stand in the middle, you will feel as if you have dived into a pool. It will be amazing, said Julie. For a moment, Monet looked sad. But to tell the truth, I wonder if I will ever finish, he said. I'm old now, and my eyesight is bad. Julie thought for a moment. You will need to be very patient, she said, like a gardener. Yes, he smiled, just like a gardener. Then Claude Monet pulled out a big watch. 6 o'clock precisely, he said. Time to eat. So see this whole thing that he's trying to create here? This whole room. Isn't that neat? Waiting in the yellow dining room, surrounded by pictures from Japan, sat Mrs. Monet and Julie's mother. Here are your little runaways, said Monet. Then it was time to leave. Monet walked with them as far as the river. Louis wanted to say goodbye too, but as he jumped up, Julie's beautiful lily went flying into the river. Oh, Louis, shouted Julie. That was my special lily. They took the train back to the city, and even Louis was tired. The garden seemed like a distant dream. But in the middle of the night, Julie heard Louis whining to go outside. She tiptoed through the apartment. Beneath the balcony, something was sparkling on the river. What do you think was sparkling on the river? Julie ran outside and stretched into the dark water. She pulled out a lily, as bright as a silver star. Was it the same one maybe she had dropped? Perhaps it's a little present from the water garden, she whispered. And as the city slept, she breathed in the sweet smell of the magical garden of Claude Monet. So the water lily reminded her of him. And this is an actual photograph of Claude Monet. So his type of artwork was called Impressionism. Picasso did more of abstract art. Henri Matisse also did a lot of abstract art, and he did artwork that dealt with cutouts. Because as he got older, that's all he was able to do. So since we did not get to do our artist unit at the end of this year, I thought some of you, especially my artists that love to do stuff like this, would like these books and these art activities. So I'm going to post all of the links along with the link of this read aloud, just in case you want to do the masterpieces and the artwork with these books, okay? All of this will be in Seesaw and in your messages. If you can't pull up something, just email me and let me know, okay? We love y'all. We hope you enjoy the last week of school. I know it's bittersweet. You know we're going to miss you, but we hope y'all have a wonderful summer. We love you. Bye.